Give us a read on how you're feeling. You know, I think you were, good to have you here. You've been particularly worried, I think, about, we had you last when it was a more volatile period in the markets and the infection rate was still going up. How are you feeling about the financial markets and the outlook now that we have started to see some signs that that infection curve is peaking?
Well, I'm feeling a lot better, both as a, just as a person about it and as an investor. I mean, clearly, since I was last on here, which was when things were maybe not at their darkest, but was pretty close to that, a lot of uncertainty has been removed, and the worst case scenarios do not seem to be materializing. I mean, I was amazed, in some of the turmoil of March, the kinds of emails I was getting from some very smart people who were sketching out these apocalyptic scenarios of not only, a medical catastrophe, but a financial meltdown as well. And I think we're seeing, significant progress on both fronts, both medically and with the way the virus is unfolding, which, again, I think is worth bearing in mind that it is a virus. It is going to respond to, what we know about the science of it. And secondly, on the financial front, I think the Fed, especially Mnuchin too. I don't know Mnuchin personally, but I think he deserves a lot of credit here. They've done a tremendous job of pouring money into the system, of stepping up and doing what they can do. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, there's nothing you can do in a situation like this," but yes, there is. And I'll just mention two things that I think they deserve a lot of credit for. One was providing liquidity to municipal bond markets, stabilizing that, the Fed buying municipal bonds. So many investors, fixed income portions in municipal bonds, and if the states couldn't pay, the cities couldn't pay, and by the way, the states are obviously going to be in trouble, that would have been a disaster if there was everybody dumped municipal bonds. And secondly, they backstopped the money market funds. They really learned from what happened in the financial crisis. And anyway, I think that's taken a lot of uncertainty out, which is really what has put, a lot of momentum behind the market.
Jim, I guess the question from here is, how long does it take to reopen the economy? Who even has the authority to do that? And how does that look? Are people going to really be going back to the office? Are they going to be going out to restaurants? Are there going to even be restaurants? I mean, the questions are just endless when it comes to that. And it feels like, the market appears to be expecting a third quarter, fourth quarter type rebound. I don't think the V-shaped recovery is baked in, but the shape and the feel and the speed seems very uncertain. How are you thinking about it?
Yeah, well, look, the market is looking pretty optimistic here, and but the little formula I use, which is not really try to predict where the market goes, it's where it's been, and it's up about 25%, from that low, which in my book means you might want to think about rebalancing a little bit, which at this point, if you've been following if you've been doing what you should be doing, means you should be thinking about selling a little bit just to get those allocations in line. But putting that aside, I have been talking to some CEOs this week about this reopening question, and everybody tells me that it's all about testing, and getting a system in place, maybe with the help of the tracking that's being talked about out of Silicon Valley, but coming up with a system in which we can identify the people who are infected and who are a threat and can remain quarantined, then those who have the antibodies, who are kind of going to be the superheroes of this, they can go anywhere. And then the people who are not infected, have not been infected, but are going to need, periodic testing. But the technology is moving here. I think it's looking good. I mean, I fact check this, but I've heard from them that Abbott Labs has this fantastic test where you get an instant readout. I mean, you can literally have guards at office buildings and shopping malls zapping you as you walk in, and they will know, do you have the virus or not? And, that's kind of science fiction almost, but that's not completely out of the question. So I think we are going to be able to marshal the technological resources to get people back, short of having the vaccine, which, people say could be about a year away.
That's interesting, Jim, because there are some who argue that pricing the market back to 2,800, about where we are right now, was almost an easy call in that once you saw the mitigation measures being put into place, you knew that the curve would eventually flatten out. We thought it might be April, and it turns out that's kind of what's happening now. But
Right.
this second chapter of finding this testing, tracing at scale depends on a much broader range of outcomes, a broader range of policymakers. Do you think the hard part starts now in terms of investing?
Well, yeah, I think, everybody says after a bump like this, the so-called easy money has been made. But let me say, that was not easy money. If you look back to a month ago, to be stepping up and putting in money in the market took, a lot of conviction and a certain amount of optimism and courage. I wouldn't call it easy money, but yeah, I agree. I think a lot of optimism has been priced in at this point, and I don't think, we're going to see another 25% move in the speed that we just saw. This one, in fact, I'd be a little bit worried if we did. It would seem a little bit irrational to me. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. But I think we do have a few things here to watch. I mean, one is China. Now, China may have substantially undercounted the number of people infected and who died. But putting that aside, they are unlocking. They are going back to work. They are, pretty much reopening that society. It's middle of April. The first case in Wuhan that we know about was December 31st. That's a finite period of time. And I think that's encouraging that, if you can get the numbers down, you can reopen. Now, I don't know that we can get those numbers down, which is why technology here is going to have to play a bigger role. But I think the technology is there. It's getting developed. It's going to be rolled out. It's going to mean a lot of money for some of the companies that are able to participate in this. It's a massive effort, but I think there is cause for optimism that in the May, June, July, some summer, period, a lot is going to be back. People say, are there going to be restaurants again? Well, yes, there are going to be restaurants again. The virus is going to be brought to heel at some point, and it's not going to be tomorrow, but they are going to come back someday.